Hello and welcome to Faith Matters. This is the show where we look at Liverpool life through the prism of faith and belief. And our guests in the studio today are John Hawkins and Tracey Fitzgibbon from the Church of Scientology. Now I have to confess, I don't know much about Scientology. All I know is that the founder was L. Ron Hubbard, who was a science fiction writer as well. And I'm afraid I'm not a great reader of science fiction, so you're going to have to enlighten me. Tell us about the Church of Scientology, you know, its origins, how it got started, how long it's been around, that kind of thing.
Well, L. Ron Hubbard was a science fiction writer, and he wrote science fiction in order to fund his research, which culminated in Scientology. But there was like another thing that came before Scientology, which was Dianetics, which is basically the science of the mind that he researched and found out about.
And you wrote books on that?
He released quite a few books on Dianetics, yes. The main one was Dianetics, the Modern Science of Mental Health, which was the popular work which he put out after public demand for him to write, a popular work on the subject. But I'm sorry, what was the original question?
Well, the question was, how long has Scientology been around? You kind of began to answer that, really, but and then what happened after Dianetics? What happened then?
Well, it started before Dianetics. L. Ron Hubbard, as a young man, he traveled extensively in the East, in Asia, and he came into contact with a lot of Eastern religions, and he spent time, in lamasseries in the mountains of Tibet. He lived with bandits in Mongolia, and he got to know a lot of Eastern religions, and he kind of started wondering why there was so much wisdom in these Eastern religions, but at the same time, out in the streets there was all this abject poverty and suffering from the people in Asia. Anyway, he came back to the United States and he enrolled in George Washington University. He was one of the first, this was in the 1930s, and he was one of the first enrollees in one of the first courses in atomic and molecular phenomenon. It was one of the earlier courses on nuclear phenomenon. And he did that, and he also trained to be an engineer, and he also studied mathematics. So he, as well as like the Eastern religions background knowledge.
He was a scientist as well.
He was a scientist as well, and he had like a scientific approach to life and solving problems in life.
So the philosophy is like a marriage between science and religion? Would that be fair to say that?
Yeah, he did a scientific approach to, trying to discover information basically about what was life all about and the spirits and that kind of thing. And while he was at George Washington University, they had a psychology department over there, which they do in most major American universities. And he used to go over there and embarrass the psychology professors by asking awkward questions like, how is memory stored on a physical level? If you say that, all we are is our brains and we think with our brains, then how do you actually store memory on a physical level? And he worked out that if it was stored, in the nerves inside the brain and the neurons and whatever, there would only be enough actual space there inside the brain to remember 3 months back.
Right. Okay.
And anybody can remember back to there.
Something else must have been going on.
Yeah, so there's got to be something else,
Okay, Tracey, you're from Manchester, which is from the Church of Scientology in Manchester.
Yeah.
And you have a centre there, which is the centre for this wider area, northwest area. Am I correct in saying that?
Yeah.
Okay, is Scientology, and you run that centre, is that right?
I do, yeah.
Okay, is Scientology a religion?
It is a religion, yeah. We were actually granted official religious recognition by the Supreme Court on the 11th of December 2013. The church has been in Manchester for 43 years, but we were actually granted religious recognition by the highest courts in the land, which is a good day for us.
And what makes you a religion?
Well, we believe in a supreme power or being. We come together as a congregation, just the criteria that makes us a religion.
Okay, and who do you worship?
We worship the supreme being.
Right, okay. But you don't use the word God?
We call it the supreme being.
Yeah, okay.
But whether or not you believe that to be God or whomever that is that it is to you, yeah, the Supreme Being.
Okay, we're interested in people's stories on this programme. John, just tell us your story. How did you become a Scientologist? Have you always been a Scientologist? Were you raised in it, or did something you embraced later in life?
My parents were not Scientologists. I actually I was born here in Liverpool. I'm a Scouser.
Yeah.
And I went to the Blue Coat School. I don't know how I managed to get in there, but I did.
Yeah.
And I came out when I was 16 and joined the Merseyside Police Cadets. I was a police cadet for a couple of years, and I was awarded Cadet of the Year. And I got the Duke of Edinburgh's Gold Award while I was a police cadet.
Yeah.
And then I joined the regular force. I was a bobby, and I worked out of Admiral Street here, just up the road.
Okay.
And some other places. And I saw a lot of life. I saw life from the top down to the bottom, from the bottom up. And I started asking questions. I started wondering, what makes people act the way they do. I went to a lot of domestic disturbances where the husband had been out and had 8 pints, and he'd come back and he'd beaten up his wife, giving her a couple of black eyes. And, we'd arrest the guy, we'd be taking him out, and his wife would be grabbing onto his legs and saying, please don't take him away, I love him, and he'd just given her 2 black eyes and broken her nose, and that kind of thing made me start questioning, why do people behave the way they do? And I was looking for answers. I was at that time of my life when I was looking for answers. So I started reading a lot of philosophy books, and I started reading some psychology books, and I couldn't find any answers. And so in the end, I left the police, and I also read a book by a guy called Jack Kerouac around that time.
Oh, yeah.
Called On the Road.
Yeah, know that book, yeah.
And I thought, wow, maybe that's what I should do. I should just go on the road in America.
Yeah.
And that's what I ended up doing. I went over to America, and I hitchhiked around for a couple of years. And it was while I was hitchhiking around, I was in Portland, Oregon, and I found out about Scientology. And
was that through reading or meeting somebody, or how did that happen?
No, there was. I was actually just walking down the street one day in Portland, Oregon, and there was a really good-looking girl on the corner, and I thought, wow, that's a bit of all right. So I walked up to her and I asked her for a date. I was kind of brash in those days, and better looking as well. And it turned out that she was a Scientologist, and she took me into the center there in Portland, and I read some things, and then I took a little course, and I thought, wow, this is really good. This is for me. This is what I've been looking for, and the rest is history.
Interesting. So briefly, Tracey, tell us, what's your story? Similar to that? I mean, interesting that both of you have been, John, in America. I mean, you were in South Africa, weren't you, for many years?
I was. I didn't come across Scientology in South Africa, though. It was here in the UK. My husband knew about it from some friends that he had in the States. Came across a book, asked me to get it for him. This was tail end of 2004, which I did. No interest personally until I read it. And then whatever I read made sense. It's made my life a lot calmer, giving myself direction, etc., etc. Gives me ability to help people as well, which I think is what drives a person in the first place.
So a reason for being.
Yeah, a bit of purpose to my life, and something that I feel like, you can go and do a regular job and you go home at the end of the day, you feel like you've done something, but I didn't help people overcome drug addiction or marriages,
and that's
whatever.
What you do that kind of thing?
I do, yeah. Yeah.
Okay. And it kind of works?
It does work. It does work. And you can see the changes that you've made in people's lives, the fact that they feel better about themselves, not even necessarily that they become Scientologists, but just the fact that they've helped overcome something that caused them upset. You've helped them and can walk away at the end of the day knowing that you've done that.
Okay. How compatible is Scientology with mainstream religion, and particularly with Christianity? I know we had a little bit of an email exchange about that.
Yeah.
Just tell our viewers, is it compatible?
It's very compatible, because the aims of Scientology are a world without insanity, without crime, and without war. Those are the aims of Scientology. And I think, as a Christian would want those things too. We believe in compassion, love thy neighbor, only do things to others that you would want them to do to you. the golden rule, variation of the golden rule there.
Jesus rule.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Jesus rule. Yeah, and I think it's very, I think Jesus stood for wisdom and good health and being kind to your fellow man, and that's all part of Scientology.
So could you be a Christian, for example, and a Scientologist?
Absolutely.
Could you be part of another religion and a Scientologist
Yes.
at the same
Absolutely,
time?
yeah.
Is that, and you've got people who would say that?
Yes.
We've got people that come to the church in Manchester from every walk of life, faith. Scientology is an all-denominational religion. It doesn't matter what it is that you believe in. There's nothing that you'd read in Scientology that would deny that. Yeah.
Okay. And do you have connections with other faith leaders? Well, you've got a connection with me now.
We do, yeah.
And but do you have connection with other faith leaders, people in the area in the northwest?
Yeah, we the higher ups in Scientology, they attend interfaith conferences and stuff, especially in America and things like that. And they a few years back, it seemed that religion was under attack somewhat by more materialistic elements of the society, and we stood for.
Okay, sorry, I'm going to have to interrupt you there because
Sure.
we're going to our commercial break. Nothing to stop the commercial break, but we'll come back and get back into those questions again.
No problem.
Thank you. Hello and welcome back to Faith Matters. Our guests in the studio today, John Hawkins and Tracey Fitzgibbon from the Church of Scientology. Great to see you guys.
Thanks.
Just before we go back to the questions, just to tell our viewers, if you want to send us comments or make suggestions about the programme, maybe somebody you would like to see on, email us at faithmatters@baytvliverpool.com. faithmatters@baytvliverpool.com. Okay, Scientology it's known for its impressive array of celebrities, not least John Travolta, Tom Cruise, Priscilla Presley, and you were telling me Beck is a Scientologist.
And me, don't forget me.
Yeah, John. Yeah, I didn't mean to forget you there, John. Have you ever met any of these people?
Yeah, I've met a few.
Have you?
Yeah.
You go on, tell us who you met.
Well, we met Kirstie Alley last week or the week before. My son gave her flowers. Very happy with himself. Yeah.
I'm sure he was.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you do get to meet the celebrities sometimes.
On occasion, yeah.
Do they travel over here? A lot of them seem to be Americans, but they're coming over.
Yeah, some of them come over. Yeah.
One of them, Lisa Marie Presley, daughter of Priscilla Presley. She's a Scientologist, and I lived in Los Angeles for a while, and I actually worked for her for a while, security.
Oh, really?
Yeah, she had she lived on an estate just outside of Los Angeles, and she needed, some guys to man the gates and that kind of thing. So I worked for her for a while.
Because she's been living over here recently, is that right?
Yeah, she's over here now. I think she is. I'm not sure where she is actually, but it's great. I'm working for Elvis's kid. Yeah,
you don't get better than that. So what is it about? What is it that attracts people like this to Scientology in particular, do you think? Do you think there's anything?
I think it's the same as it is for anybody else. It's truth. It's something that helps them. When you look at the numbers of Scientologists, the numbers of famous celebrity Scientologists are sort of very minimal when it comes to the whole number. So,
yeah.
But they're the guys that get the press, right? Nobody sort of reads the newspaper and hears Tracey Fitzgibbon's a Scientologist and she had X, Y, and Z for breakfast, whereas these guys you do. But as I say, it's a very small minority. And I think it is just the same as it is for myself or John or anybody else. It's something that they can use. It helps themselves. It helps others. And as such,
they seem to be, some of these guys, they seem to be quite committed to it. I mean, Tom Cruise seems to be. Yeah, he talks about it, doesn't he? And John Travolta.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it helped Tom with he had like a learning disability early in his life. He had trouble studying, and Scientology helped him with that because we have a technology of study and how to study. And so we helped him with that, and I think that's what really got him into Scientology. We completely handled that, dyslexia study problem that he had back then.
Okay.
And I think on the whole, celebrities, artists, they're artists, and they tend to be very creative people. They create their art. whether it's an actor or a musician like Beck or whatever. And Scientology helps bring out that creativity because it helps you achieve more spiritual awareness, and so you can create, more as an artist because you do feel
it improves your creative capacity. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. As an artist, so whatever your field of art is, it can help you produce more in that area.
Now, when you've got celebrities around, you can't help but have a bit of controversy with it. And, Scientology is not unusual in that there has been some controversies around. Can we just explore those a bit for a few moments? Sure. Even in the Daily Mail today, not that I'm an avid Daily Mail reader, I'd have you know, but it's free.
You're admitting that?
It's free. No, I'm not an avid. It's free online. It's free online. But you've been accused of being a cult. What do you say? I mean, you don't look like cult members to me. And but what do you say to that?
My own personal question is, I actually not too sure what a cult is.
Well, a cult is a group. It doesn't have to be a religious group that sort of entices people in and then keeps them in through brainwashing, separates them from their loved ones.
Right.
So
the answer to that question would be no.
Have you heard that kind of thing before?
Yeah, people have asked me if I'm a cult, but then again, I'm unsure what it is that they mean when they ask me whether I'm a cult or whether I belong to a cult. Yes, we are a group of individuals and we work towards greatest sort of enhancement for others, but I don't keep anybody away from the family. My front door is always open. People can come and go as they please. Don't know, other than answering it that way, what I can say. It's sort of trying to disprove a negative is a little bit difficult sometimes.
Yeah, a cult has kind of got like a wide definition to it these days. I mean, I think even the French Parliament not too long ago called the Baptists a cult.
Oh, did they?
Yes.
Yeah.
And I think the Belgian government not too long ago also called the Hasidic Jews a cult.
Yeah.
And the YWCA, believe it or not, they were named a cult.
I know the Russian Orthodox think the Baptists and other evangelicals are a cult.
Yeah.
So
it kind of has that sinister implication of a closed group with like secret rituals and that kind, and that's not Scientology. We're open to anyone. Anyone can become a Scientologist.
What about because you run courses and training, and the allegation has been that these are intensive, and you're keeping people in closed rooms for long periods of time.
It's by their choice. It's by their choice.
So how long would you be in a sort of training environment like that?
It all depends on whatever the schedule. They sign up to do a course to learn a little bit about life, and they usually have their own schedule, and they can come 5 nights a week, or if they can only do 2 or 3 nights a week, that's fine. Or they can come in the daytime. We're open at 9 o'clock in the morning till 10 at night.
And you're kind of running things through the day.
Just to add something there, it's sort of a study environment, but it's got, again, you can come and go, you can go to the toilet, you can go have a cup of coffee. Like, it isn't the door's closed and that's it, the bars are on. It's just good. In that room there, they are studying. So you wouldn't go in and have a phone conversation or that kind of stuff.
No, in the same way as you would in any other kind of church kind of meeting.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I get that. And so you have trainers, people doing training?
Yeah.
People are leading. People aren't just sitting there looking at books. There's somebody helping them, is there?
Yeah, like a supervisor, almost like a course room. Yeah, like a classroom sort of, similar sort of thing. Yeah.
And what kind of things?
We have a supervisor because we don't have a teacher as such, like you do in school or in college.
Or a priest, or you don't have that kind of leader.
Right, because basically when L. Ron Hubbard was researching Scientology, he found it a little bit difficult to teach people Scientology, and he found that they were running into study problems because they couldn't study too well. So then he researched how to study, and he found that there's a whole technology of how to actually learn how to study, which they don't teach you in schools. When you go to school, I went to the Blue Coat, and they just sit you down, and the teacher's up there in the front, and he starts, giving you all this data, all this information. And for example, if he uses a word or several words that you don't know the meaning of those words, you can get excuse me, you can get a bit sleepy and start doping off because, you know, a misunderstood word, you may as well cut your throat if you're trying to study something and you go past a word. So we don't have teachers in Scientology, we have supervisors who make sure that you don't go past misunderstood words.
So they're kind of like facilitators, really, facilitating learning.
Right, if somebody's having trouble while they're studying, the supervisor will grab the book and he'll say, you know, what word don't you understand in this? Or he'll go back in the text and he'll say, you know, what's the definition of this word? And if they don't know it, then he'll say, look it up in the dictionary.
Now, one other thing people may have heard, which, you know, it might be misinformation, is that Scientology is anti-psychiatry. Is that correct?
Yeah, we are.
You are. That's a real honest answer. Yeah, unpack that a bit. What do you mean by that?
Well, basically, when L. Ron Hubbard first did his research and he came out with Dianetics, which is like a very workable science of the mind. I mean, it helps people, you know, get over their mental problems, whether it be, you know, just a lack of confidence to, you know, they feel depressed or they just, they can't talk to girls, for example, or any kind of mental problem. Dianetics can help people with that.
As an alternative to psychiatric treatment or counselling, that kind of thing.
Psychiatry, when it first came out in 1950, psychiatry sort of saw it as a threat to their income, basically. It just comes down to money, basically. I'll give you an analogy. Like, say, for example, you invented a car that ran on milk or water. I think the big petroleum companies like BP would be a bit mad, wouldn't they? They'd be a bit upset.
Yeah, okay.
Because you'd be encroaching on their market and they'd probably put them out of business. Well, that's the way that psychiatrists viewed Dianetics. They saw it as a threat, and they actually then set about trying to destroy Dianetics and Scientology.
Great. And quickly, how do people get in touch with you? Website?
Yeah, it's manchester@scientology.net or www.scientology.org.
And you can just find out everything about Scientology on...
Absolutely everything. You can meet Scientologists, take a tour of a church, etc., etc.
Okay, well, thank you guys for coming today. It's been fascinating, really interesting. And thank you to our viewers for watching Faith Matters today. Join us for the next episode. Goodbye.